Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. Each episode will bring you in-depth discussion with experts, community leaders, and analysts who will share their insights, experiences, and predictions. From local elections to global diplomacy, we'll provide you with the tools and perspectives you'll need to navigate today's real-world landscape.
Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. I'm Lisa Chafee. Joining me today are my two co-hosts, Jim Leeser.
It is great to be back in the studio of MEC TSC.
And Michael Nash.
Hello. Thanks for the plug, Jim.
Yes.
Joining us on the line is Judge Dan Hawkins, who is a candidate this year for Ohio's State Supreme Court. He is a current judge of the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas. He was elected to the seat in November of 2018. He, prior to that, presided as a judge in the Environmental Division of the Franklin County Municipal Court, a position he held since 2013. He received a BS in Criminal Justice from Bowling Green University in 1998 and went on to complete a JD at Ohio State University and the Michael E. Moritz College of Law in 2001. After graduating from law school, Judge Hawkins began his legal career as an assistant prosecuting attorney with the Franklin County Prosecutor's Office, and during his tenure there, he was promoted to director of the Special Victims Unit in 2003, and in that role, he prosecuted violent crimes involving women and children as victims, including homicides, sexual assaults, child abuse, human trafficking, and internet child exploitation. In addition, Dan was tasked with managing fellow prosecutors in the SVU and was credited with conducting several jury trials, including 6 death penalty cases. And he remained in that capacity until joining the municipal court bench in 2013. Judge Hawkins, welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
Oh, we're so excited because we've all known you for a while now, and we couldn't be happier that you are running for the state Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
100%. And what a resume. Wow.
I know. That took her like 5 minutes to get through.
I know. I got winded. Listen.
Yeah.
So thank you. You all have been wonderful supporters and just wonderful friends throughout the years. And so this is just a great honor just to be in the conversation of being an Ohio Supreme Court justice. But we're working really hard to make it happen.
So tell us why you decided to run for state Supreme Court.
You know, it's interesting. I consider myself really in my dream job right now. I love the trial courts, the trial work at Court of Common Pleas. It's a very difficult position, very busy court we deal with. But after my election in 2018, I was the only Republican that won in Franklin County that year. I had some folks who do some statewide politics that said, Judge, there's some openings coming up on the Ohio Supreme Court in the next few years. You've been a good, solid judge, won 3 tough elections in Franklin County. You should maybe look at running for the state Supreme Court. And I was just floored. I was honored that I was thought of in that conversation. So I started traveling the state, meeting different county chairmen, state central committee folks all over Ohio. Really got a great reception. And, there were some decisions that came down from the Ohio Supreme Court in the last couple of years that I took issue with. I had some concerns about and disagreed with. And that really lit a fire under me to make the run this year for the Ohio Supreme Court to make sure that we have a good, solid conservative voice on that court for years to come.
So you're campaigning for a spot on the Supreme Court, which is the ultimate court of appeals for the state of Ohio. But you've never held an appellate judicial position, whereas your opponent has served on the 8th District Court of Appeals for 3 years.
Correct.
What makes you the better person for this position?
Right. So usually one thing I'll note is our current Chief Justice, Sharon Kennedy, was never a Court of Appeals judge before she was elected to the Supreme Court. She was a trial court judge. One of the other justices currently serving on the court is a trial court judge. what's beneficial to me, especially being in Franklin County, as a common pleas court judge, I mean, I deal with every case imaginable that the Ohio Supreme Court would see, aside from cases that arise out of the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio, because those go directly to the Supreme Court. So really, whether it's criminal matters involving search and seizure, Fourth Amendment issues, I've had to deal with Second Amendment issues, gun rights issues, all the way up to major litigation involving, medical malpractice type cases. I do handle administrative appeals. So if there's a decision from an administrative agency, those cases are appealed to my court, and I handle those as sort of an appellate type decision, where I review the transcripts and the hearings, the proceedings from the administrative agencies, and issue decisions from there. So really a vast array of experience, and I've been doing this for 11 years now as a judge. My opponent, who I met once, and nice woman, but she worked at a law firm for many years, and has only been a judge for I think 2 or 3 years now, where I've got 11 years as a judge on the bench making difficult decisions. Really, again, I've established a record here in Franklin County as being routinely one of the top highly rated judges here in Franklin County, from surveys from Columbus Bar Association attorneys. I've really got a wide array of support here over the past decade of service I've had on the bench.
Judge Hawkins, how does your work on the Common Pleas Court compare to what you'll be doing on the Ohio Supreme Court?
Yeah, great question. So a big part of what I do now, obviously, is to analyze issues, whether you're supposed to, as a judge, you decide cases. Judges, especially Supreme Court justices, you don't decide issues, you decide cases. So whatever the fact pattern, the cases that come in front of you, first question is, well, what's the law? What's the statute say? What's the Constitution say? What's the contract say? What are we dealing with here? And you apply that law to the facts of the case, and you do that on the trial court level, really on a daily basis. And unlike an appellate court and a Supreme Court, where you have a panel who decides the issues, and you have months of research and reading briefs, a lot of times as a common pleas court judge, a trial court judge, you have to make these decisions very quickly, and you're not a part of a panel. It's you on an island making these decisions. And sometimes they're very tough, difficult decisions, and you don't like the outcome, but the law dictates what the law should be, and you follow that. So on that sense, as a Supreme Court justice, I've come well prepared and having to make very difficult decisions. But just with the ability now that I'd have to consult with the other justices on the court, right? There's 7 justices, and if you want your view of the decision to prevail, you need 3 other justices. You need at least 4 justices to get a majority to reach a decision. So that would be something that I'm looking forward to for sure, to be able to work with those other justices who are up there and deciding some very important issues for the state of Ohio moving forward.
Very good.
Good stuff. I had a question for you. This is kind of a shifting gears here, but I think we'll get back to working with our justices at some point later. And that is, much of your campaign consists of 16 to 30-second sound bites on Twitter and X. What do you think it's possible for the electorate to form an opinion about you, given such limited information about what you believe?
No, I mean, that's why I've spent the last year and a half, 2 years traveling the state of Ohio. 88 out of the 88 counties, I think I've hit 65 so far, and I've got a scheduled to hit the rest in the meantime. But no, I mean, we try to get some message out over social media, obviously, because that's a way campaigns can try to reach out to many people, and also it's cost efficient. But we have other avenues. A website, hawkinsforjustice.com, provides much more information about my background experience. We will have other literature that we're getting out. Obviously, advertisements, TV and social media, video advertisements we'll be getting out here in the fall as we get closer to the election season. and just meeting with voters and trying to cut through the noise. Obviously, it's a big year election wise with a presidential election, a big United States Senate race here in Ohio. So just trying to cut through that noise and make sure people understand the importance of these Supreme Court races and see why I'm best qualified for the job, and I do a good job up there.
And if anyone would like to meet you, I suggest they go to your website and look and see where you're going to be and go to those events.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you follow me on Facebook, Judge Dan Hawkins, or Twitter, Judge Hawkins. I guess it's X now. It's not Twitter. I still say Twitter.
I do too.
And
So do I.
I'm told
they changed the name. I'm quite cross about it.
Okay, yeah. Excuse him, please.
Good.
Okay, so
and I'm told I'm on Instagram. I don't know anything about it, but the campaign has me on Instagram, so I guess I'm on there too, apparently.
Yeah, when you're on Facebook, if you open an Instagram account, it crosses over automatically. All right, so unfortunately, across the country, many judges from the lowest level on up are making decisions on cases not based on the law, but rather on their ideology. And it goes on both ways. Republicans support Republican legislation and Democrat judges support the Democrat legislation. And it's not healthy, and it's not following the law. And I'm wondering if you can expound on why you think you'll be immune to the political pressure that permeates courts across the country.
Yeah, great question. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm running for the Supreme Court is I want to keep politics out of the courtroom. I have a history of being able to make tough decisions based on the law, and I think it was Justice Gorsuch and other justices, but I think I heard him recently say that a judge who is happy with all of his decisions isn't really a good judge, because there are many decisions you have to make that you're not happy about. You don't like the outcome of it, but the law dictates what you're supposed to do. I may have personal preferences about how policy, what laws should be enacted and not, but I'm not a legislator. I'm a judge, and if I'm interested in changing the law, then I should run for the state house or for Congress. That's not what judges do. I'm there to interpret the law as it's written and to apply the law to the facts, to call those balls and strikes as a judge. And so, I've had a history not just as a current judge doing that in my courtroom every day, but during my time as a prosecutor. Prosecutors have to make very difficult decisions, especially in the area that I practiced in child abuse, sexual abuse cases. You have to make some tough decisions, and sometimes I've had to have conversations with victims or families about how we can't prosecute the case because there's not enough evidence. I wish I could, but I just can't. As a judge, I've been in situations where I've had to rule against maybe victims on a case or sympathetic plaintiffs on a civil dispute case, but the law is clear on what I'm supposed to do, and so I have to rule accordingly. If you can't make tough decisions, if you can't make decisions, you really shouldn't be a judge. And I've been doing it now for 20 some years as a prosecutor and a judge, and gotten a good reputation of just of following the law and doing what I think is right, and not letting the chips fall where they may. I know I'm not going to make everybody happy. If you want to make people happy, then you shouldn't be in the law business, let alone being a judge.
Agreed.
And with that, there's a follow-up question that I have that goes along with what you just said. And I actually got this question from, I actually have a friend who's a Supreme Court geek. And he asked me this question and he had no idea we were doing this. I told him we're talking to you today. And he said, hey, so ask him if he's a living document or a dead document guy. And it kind of goes along with what you just gave as an answer. So do a quick follow-up with what you just said. Are you a living document guy or a dead document guy?
It's funny. I guess I haven't really heard or used the term dead document. I believe in originalism, textualism. I believe, that the law says what it says. You interpret a law based on what the plain meaning of the words. of the law, the statute at the time they were enacted. What was the plain meaning at the time they were enacted, and applying that plain meaning, those plain words, the text of the document to the facts of the case. I've always said if you don't, people who support a living constitution or an evolving constitution don't like the Constitution we have now. I love our Constitution, our United States Constitution. Our Ohio Constitution is awfully big. It gets bigger and bigger every year with all these amendments that keep getting added to it. But our Constitution is such a beautiful document, and it's something that it's difficult to change, but it was done that way on purpose because it's supposed to it's supposed to act as that guiding principle of our democracy here in America. And so if you don't like a particular amendment, then there's a process to change that or to get rid of that amendment. It's not up to a judge or a panel of justices to ignore what the law says or the Constitution says and implement their own views of what the law should be.
Interesting. I think he's going to like that answer he just gave. So
Mhm.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Dan, while I wouldn't ask you to comment on a specific case, it's the reality of 2024. 50% of the country has little to no faith in the judicial system. The Supreme Court of Ohio is in charge of that system. What can the court do to restore the faith?
Yeah, no, a great question. Unfortunately, if there's some hot button issues that the court often has to decide or deal with. That happens frequently. But if you look at whether it's the United States Supreme Court or the Ohio Supreme Court, the reality is there are a lot of decisions that come out that are either unanimous decisions from the court or that, at least from the Ohio Supreme Court, it's a 6-1 decision or a 5-2. It doesn't currently the makeup of our 7-person court. We have 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats on the court. And there are some hot button issues, cases that come down that have that 4-3 split. But there are many, many others that if they're not unanimous, they don't really necessarily break down in that Republican side versus Democrat side. And so I think, unfortunately, it's the folks who are on the losing end of a case or a decision that tend to complain the most or be upset. When their side wins, they love the justice system. When their side loses, it's politics and the world is ending. I think it's important for judges to be transparent and when writing decisions to make sure that it's you're as transparent as possible to show that the reasoning of your decision is based on fact, based on the law, and that it's not politics. If the best way to keep politics out of the courtroom is to just follow the law as it's written. That gets rid of any bias. If you just follow the law as it's written, follow the Constitution, and leave it to the legislature to change the law and to deal with the politics of it. I think that's what's important. And I know obviously it's you're going to have decisions that come down, and people aren't going to be happy about some of the results and accuse one side or the other of playing politics, and that's unfortunate. But as judges, we just have to do what we can to make sure we're as transparent as possible in our decisions.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So
That's a wonderful answer to that. We have too much legislating from the bench, and I think a lot of people have gotten tired of that, and it's refreshing to hear that from you, that it's your job to rule on the laws that are made by the legislators.
And one of the problems that I hear, a lot of frustrations, I should say, I hear from educated voters. And by that, I mean people who are actually seeking to learn about the candidates and what they really stand for. And character is a big issue for people. It's different as a judge when you're campaigning because the laws are different. And there are certain things that you cannot comment on. And I know you can't comment or answer questions on anything that could potentially come before you should you win the election. Yet your opponent just recently on the Cleveland.com said, quote, the court's 2025 caseload could be crucial. It's likely to include challenges to Ohioans' statewide 2023 vote to guarantee a right to abortion, and the GOP moves to gut a voter-initiated anti-gerrymandering plan, end quote. How would you interpret this tweet of hers as a clear indication of how she would rule in a case? And do you think she crossed that line?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm necessarily the judge to say if she crossed the line or not. If there's a specific issue, the Supreme Court Disciplinary Council would investigate that, and I leave that up to them. I think I don't know if I would phrase it as such myself. I mean, clearly the court's going to deal with some important issues moving forward, whether it be in those areas that she referenced, but I personally wouldn't highlight specific things such as that, because I think, again, that shows that you're anticipating specific cases coming to you, and that almost implying to your supporters that you'll rule in a way that would make them happy. Some of those issues are going to come before the court, but again, the court doesn't decide issues; it decides cases. And so I would wait to see what the actual case in front of me is about, and apply that case to whatever the statute or constitutional amendment that's at issue, and go from there. That's how I've always operated, and that's how I would operate moving forward. But you're right; it's difficult. You know, when you're running for elective office as a judge, a judicial candidate, judicial canons dictate that judges can't go out there and really express policy positions, because you want to make sure you maintain the integrity of the judicial system, the judicial process, and that the parties coming in front of you know that they're going to get a fair shake. You haven't pre-decided any case or judged how a case will be ruled. And that's important in our system, obviously. I have personal issues and beliefs, but I don't rule based on those personal beliefs. I rule based on the law, and that's how we need our system to function.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I know it's in human nature to form our opinions before we have all the facts. And I would think you would have to isolate yourself almost from media and things like that when cases come up that may potentially come before you. How do you plan on handling that? Because you're going to be inundated with messages on Twitter, people commenting, telling you should vote this way. How can we be assured that you're not going to let your personal beliefs affect your decisions?
Yeah, and again, that's another thing I would point to as far as experience. I already deal with that, especially when you're talking about, I get inundated all the time from whether it be letters directly to my office, or online emails, or social media posting about cases I may be handling, whether it be a criminal case and you're getting calls or emails or letters from defendants' families or victims and their loved ones about how they want you to rule or sentence on a case. That's something that I deal with very frequently, but I put that aside, and I just rule based on what the laws or what the statute says I should do on a case. My time as a prosecutor, I mean, I had to make some tough decisions. I both as a prosecutor and as a judge, I faced online harassment. I faced death threats. My family and I faced death threats, but I never bowed to the mob. I never gave in and to that pressure, because I know that's my duty. That's my oath as a judge. I take that oath very seriously. And if you can't take the heat, stay out of the kitchen. If you can't withstand the scrutiny, if you can't withstand that scrutiny and do what's right, then you really shouldn't be in this line of work.
Amen to that.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yes. we are approaching wrap time here, so we've had some hot topics and some strong questions. My question is to you, and I do apologize for calling you Dan. It should be Judge
No,
Hawkins.
please call me Dan.
I think we've become friends. All four of us have become friends well enough over the years. But what would you like the public to know about Dan Hawkins himself? And also, where can they go and meet you in public at events coming up here in the near future?
Sure. Well, thank you. And you can always call me Dan. Call me Judge when I'm in the courtroom, but I'm just Dan. Listen, as far as me, I'm a proud Ohioan. I'm born and raised in Central Ohio, and proud graduate of The Ohio State University. And I come from a servant's heart, servant's background. I don't come from money. I don't come from any kind of political dynasty. I come from typical hardworking blue collar family. My dad was drafted in the Vietnam War at age 18, right out of high school. Got home from the war, got a job at the old Ohio Bell phone company before getting his CDL, his commercial license, and drove a school bus the rest of his life. My brothers and I, my sister and I, we all worked our way through college and myself through law school. And I really a testament to hard work and faith in God and family that got me to where I am today. Not any kind of, I come from money, and I don't come from any political connections. I really have gotten to where I'm at today based on hard work, the good Lord blessing me, and a wonderful family support and support from friends and folks just like you. So this is important. I've had other opportunities, maybe for more lucrative opportunities, but public service has always been in a big part of the Hawkins family. And so that's why I'm willing to make these sacrifices of traveling the state, being such time away from family and friends, working our tail off, because this is important. I have 3 kids, married 18 years. I want my kids to grow up in an Ohio that's safe, free, and prosperous, because that's the Ohio I grew up in. And I wanted to make sure that my family and everyone else's family gets to enjoy that moving forward.
Wonderful. One last thing.
Thank you. Sorry, Lisa, but I would encourage everyone to get out to an event of Dan Hawkins, our next Ohio Supreme Court Justice, and get to meet him. He is a genuine man of integrity.
Very much.
Always got a smile on his face, too.
He does.
Oh.
He does.
So one thing that we are doing is encouraging everybody to get out the vote early. Early voting starts October 8th at your local Board of Elections. Please tell everyone why you will be voting early.
Yeah. I used to be one of those traditional vote on election day folks. I really was. But then the more you learn about it, and as someone pointed out to me, the tragedy of September 11th, right? The terrorist attacks on September 11th. People forget that was an election day in New York City. So you never know what kind of event would happen, or snowstorm or something like that could prevent you from going to the polls. So banking your vote early is always helpful. Plus, it helps once you vote, bank your vote. It helps the campaigns save money from trying to track you down and constantly sending you emails or letters to get you to the polls. The technology these days, they know when you vote and they'll leave you alone. So once you vote, get it done, get it banked, then the vote's secure and it's taken care of, and you can just make sure that moving forward, you're left alone, and hopefully sit down on election day and see your candidate successful that night. So I'm voting early. I take my folks early, and took my wife. We all make a trip, either early vote center or vote, with the absentee ballot ahead of time. Get it done early. That's what we hope people do, and not just for themselves, but tell family and friends. Tell them about the importance of these Supreme Court races, about Judge Dan Hawkins, and how important this race is. We want to make sure people don't just vote for president and Senate and leave. We want to make sure they vote all the way down that ticket, including for Judge Dan Hawkins.
Agreed. Down ticket,
Agree.
indeed.
Judge Dan Hawkins, it was truly a pleasure to get to speak with you this afternoon. Thank you. And we're looking forward to calling you Justice Hawkins.
Oh,
This has been.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you all so much. No, thank you all so much. God bless you. It's been an honor. I'm glad we were finally able to do this.
Yes.
Us too. We too. You too, sir.
This has been Straight Shot Politics.